Okay, so it seems that we are live, at least the computer says we're live. So hello everyone. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Because if you can, then you know, then we can get started. I don't want to start talking without people knowing that I'm, you know, you can hear me. Anyway, let me know. In the meantime, hoping that everything is okay and hoping that everybody can hear me. Welcome to tonight's live stream. So, normally I would have a watercolor piece that we would. Oh, hi. Hi, Johan. And by the way, hello, Marlena. Normally I would have a bunch of watercolor pieces that I would watercolor, and I have in front of, I mean, I have already done this. I have like 3 or 4 full page with flowers, right, that I could go and watercolor. That is not the issue. However, I thought that tonight we break out of the pattern that I've been having and we go on and we review some watercolor workbooks. So you might wonder what does it mean, watercolor workbook? So I have a bunch of watercolor workbooks. Means that there is a design and the pages that we have here are made of watercolor paper. Of course, it's not the watercolor paper 100% cotton like we're used to, right? So make no mistake. But I have a bunch of them and I wanted to try my hands on them to see, how does it work? Does it work? Does it not work? There are nice exercises, right, where you can learn how to mix some colors and how to make some flower arrangement, how to draw them. Well, not how to draw them, but I guess that if you see how they are being drawn, you can try to replicate that, right? So anyway, the book that I am looking at today is this watercolor workbook by the Mint Gardner or Sarah Simon. I follow her on Instagram. By the way, this post is not at all how do you say, it's not monetized. I mean, I didn't receive this book or anything. I received it as a gift for my birthday from my husband. And I have many of her books because she is the closest kind of to my style. Still a little bit messy than what I would do, and totally different colors, but very close. So I really like her drawings and I really like how she draws. And I follow her also on Instagram. I got her books, but although I got these ones for my birthday, I actually never went in and tried them, which is funny. So I thought that we would open up this book together, and then we would do some of the exercises and maybe one of the book bigger projects. Okay, so let's get started. By the way, I have my watercolors here, right? These are my watercolors. These are my watercolors, my Daniel Smith watercolors and Schminke. I have many colors. I think there are 50 something here. This is my bigger set, my most important set, let's say, that I always use. You can see that a lot of colors are very well used. So I'm gonna utilize this one. A lot of the colors that she says you should have in the book I have here on this palette, so I'm just gonna use this one. And then in order to mix some of the colors that she uses in the book, she gives you the recipe how to mix certain colors, right? How to mix a rose, how to mix. I have no idea if I'm gonna be able to do that, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not very big at mixing colors myself. I'm good at utilizing lots of colors that I have, so that is the funny part. Anyway, that's a little bit. And by the way, I have a mixing palette here, and this is a ceramic palette, and I haven't used this one in a while, and I have some white because apparently to make some of the colors you need some white. The funny part is I have gouache white, so I'm gonna use a very tiny teensy bit of it. Why am I saying this? Because gouache white is a bit more opaque than watercolor white. She supposedly says you're supposed to use watercolor white, but I don't have watercolor white. I have gouache. So we're going to use teensy bit of that. Okay, let's start with the book because we're already like, I don't know, 3 minutes in and nobody knows what's going on. Anyway, welcome. Let me know which countries you are in watching me because, this is evening. So The book is quite thick, has almost, let me see, has 85 pages or so, right? And some pages are normal paper, some pages are not. And I guess the first, if you have some botanical projects, so you learn how to do a lot of things, how to watercolor a lot of things. This is my kind of book because it's flowers, right? So you learn how to do long leaf eucalyptus, dahlias, daisies, roses, fruits, you know, hellebore and others. So those are nice, but it starts with introduction, materials and techniques. So, you know, we're gonna go through that. The funny part is she begins with the materials, what you need. I'm not gonna go through that. There are some basic paint colors that you should have, like lemon yellow, yellow ochre. The funny part, I never use yellow ochre. I don't know about you, but I'm not in love with that color. We'll see what comes out. Like, she's using yellow ochre a lot. I hate that color. It looks like poop to me, but okay. It's on my palette, but I never actually do it. So we'll see. Okay. Anyway, watercolor brushes. She prefers round pointed brushes, which I prefer as well. It tells you how to hold the brush fine. You know, this is normal on every book about watercolor that I have. It always starts with this, like, okay, you have a paint palette, you have a blotting towel, you have whatever, right? We'll skip all that because, well, we assume that we all know the basics. I don't know. If you don't know the basics, let me know in the comments, but I'm not gonna say watercolor wash, right? But she does have some consistency, which I never played with, like 80% water, 20% 20% paint, or 50% water, 50% paint. I'm not sure if I can ever calculate those percentages, to be honest. So this is where practice comes into play. Okay, we're not gonna do that. Let's go. Let's see how bad we are at this, right? It says, okay, then to practice, please flip to page 30 of your watercolor paper. Above each practice row, you'll see a row of my washes labeled by color. So what you do, select the first color you like to swatch. You using around one brush for this exercise. Okay, first of all, I forgot to grab my brushes, so I'm gonna do that. I have my brushes on my desk here next to me. So she says around one brush. Let me see if I even have. Okay, I have around one brush. This is a number 1 brush. Just in case, let me bring in a number 4, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need it. I'm not gonna need more. No, I'm not gonna take more. Okay, that's it. First one is a number 1 Artigo, and the other one is an Escoda Versatil. By the way, I tried to buy myself some more Escoda Versatil brushes. They're all sold out, so go figure. Anyway, you know, I have my paper towel. I have some extra paper just to play around. I have everything. And what does it say? Fill your watercolor brush. Take your field brush to come deep. Okay, it's just a normal wash of color. Okay, let's not make it more complicated. So page number 30. So you notice that the first page is where it says you all about techniques and all about shading and all about weird stuff, right? I'm not gonna go through everything. It's normal paper. Okay, then somewhere here it says bold botanical color recipes, so it tells you how to make the colors. I will have to play with it. Yeah, skin colors and so on. And now we are on page 30, which says just do a wash. Okay, so we're gonna do just that, and by doing this we're also kind of testing the paper. Okay, I'm going to the first thing with this kind of books is that, you know, they don't stay flat. They don't stay flat. So I'm going to put my watercolors here so that I'm keeping it. And this one, let me think. I think I have a thingy here. I have a very thick one. I just want to make sure that it stays flat and it doesn't move around or doesn't open. Okay. So the first color, it says like that: use lemon yellow. By the way, my lemon yellow is from Schminke, so I'm gonna use lemon yellow. Okay, so let's make a wash. I'm going to go with my brush directly into the pan. I'm going to load my brush and we're gonna do lemon yellow. Let's see if it's actually even. Is it similar? Her lemon yellow here looks more like lemon yellow with a little bit of orange. My lemon yellow is super bright. Okay, never mind. It says use yellow ochre. I wonder which browns she has. Yellow ochre. I have yellow ochre here. You can see it's barely used, barely utilized, because I never use it. Like, where do you use yellow ochre? Like I said, it's like poop color, man. Okay, yellow ochre. So far, the watercolor paper is not that bad. AKA, what do I mean? I'm pretty sure that I won't be able to do many layers on this watercolor paper, and that is fine. However, why am I saying that it's okay? I'm saying it's okay because I can still add water, though the paper doesn't peel, and most importantly, the colors doesn't bleed. So if you have really cheap watercolor paper, the funniest thing you can see that is cheap, the colors start to bleed on the surrounding area. So it goes where the water is not, and you don't want to have that type of thing, right? So just to make sure that we're on the same page, so far the paper is not bad. Of course, it's not going to be like Arches, it's not going to be like any very expensive watercolor papers, but at least doesn't peel and it's okay. Now she's using actually my favorite red, which is Alizarin Crimson, and I happen to have Alizarin Crimson. Again, her colors are a little bit more different. Mine are much more brighter. Maybe we just need to wait for it to dry out, right? Because it could be, or maybe she uses a more thinner consistency. Okay, look at my Alizarin Crimson. This is like this is definitely not that Alizarin Crimson. That is too lesser bright, man. Okay, I can go back and forward. I can lift. So I'm testing the paper, right? I had another book from like Prima Marketing, and that was terrible paper because that was not that well to work with. So far so good. Okay, Alizarin Crimson. Then the other one says Burnt Sienna. Burnt Sienna, let me see where I have it. I have it also here. It's a little bit of a reddish brown. Okay, so it's okay. Okay, look, this one looks more like this. This is Burnt Sienna. I like Burnt Sienna, you know, I actually use it a lot. So, and then the one that is also one of my favorites, called Perline Maroon. You don't technically need to buy this one, you can make it yourself by combining colors, but I have it as a separate color. And I have here Perline Red and I have here Perline Maroon, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is Perline Maroon. Okay. It's a much dark brownish red, right? So you'll see here. Look how dark this one is. Look how dark this one is. How can she not have that kind of intensity in her color? I don't know, man. Like I said, my colors look a little bit... no. What am I talking? Look, this started to dry out and starts to look like what her... So it's like when it dries out on this paper, the colors become a little bit more duller. So, you know, that can be. But look at this Perline Maroon, man. This is a really nice color. I really advise you guys to go buy it. Okay, the only thing that I don't have is this Oxide de Chromium, or Oxide of Chromium. It's a green. I don't have this color. I need to see which color is the most closest one that I have. Sap green. I have a sap green, but you see, sap green is much more weirder than me. Olive green is the one that looks the most. You see, olive green. Although my olive green is a bit darker than what she has here. Hooker's green, no, it's much more. So sap green is neon color. Hooker's green is very bluish, permanent green bluish. So the only one close enough to this Oxide of Chromium is my olive green, and I have olive green from StreamCam. And we're gonna use that one, okay? Just FYI, you don't have to have all the colors that she has. I don't have all the colors. I mean, for example, I have way more yellows, but I don't use them all because I think they are very similar to each other. Like here I have Nugan Bosch, but Indian yellow, it's exactly the same. And I have another color that looks very similar from Winsor & Newton. I'm not gonna use them on my palette. Okay, Oxide of Chromium looks a little bit like this. Although mine is a little bit more vivid, I would say. It's not so... it's okay. We are in the spirit, right? And it says Cobalt Blue Hue. I have Cobalt Blue. And Cobalt Blue is here. Not one of my favorite colors of blue. Don't know why. Don't know why. You see, her Cobalt Blue Hue, it looks much more towards... it's not really blue, right? To me, her cobalt hue looks more like it's a cobalt blue mixed with some purple, to be honest. Let me see. If I add a little bit of purple, like StreamCam violet, to this kind of thing, would I get the same? I'm just trying to get the same color, because cobalt blue hue doesn't look like cobalt blue, looks more like a blue violet. Yeah, I think this is what it is. You know, in the end we're just gonna use cobalt blue. Payne's gray. It's not Payne's gray blue, but it's only Payne's gray. So I have Payne's gray blue, I have Davies gray, I have gray titanium. Do I have Payne's gray? Okay, it's a real gray. Yes, I have Payne's gray. It's so funny, people usually buy Payne's gray. I would be pressed to question, this is Payne's gray blue what she has, but she says it's Payne's gray. Payne's gray, real Payne's gray is real gray. There's no hint of blue in it, but look, this one has a hint of blue. Am I saying things maybe because I'm too close to it? Okay, so she has Payne's gray, and then she's like, needs ivory black. I actually have ivory black. By the way, black is a really nice color. It's usually transparent, so unlike many people that think what's going on, right? See? Okay. And the last one, she says Perline Violet. And I happen to have this color. I happen to have Perline Violet, one of my favorite violets. So let's do this. Look how beautiful this one is. Okay. So, the things that I'm noticing, right? So she was saying here it should only be cobalt blue. This is the actual cobalt blue. And in here she says it should be Payne's gray, but what I'm seeing in the picture is Payne's gray blue. And let me, that's my assumption, yeah. It's Payne's gray blue. Okay. Maybe maybe the reason why she has this is because she's making the colors, she's making them mixed from other colors. Like Payne's gray, you can mix it out of other colors, so maybe that's why she has this hint of blue, right? So anyway, these were the swatches. So what can I say about the paper? It's okay. For a workbook, I would say it's okay. I mean, I've had worse workbooks, worse watercolor papers than this, so I would say it's not that bad. It doesn't really bleed. You can see that it's a little bit cheaper watercolor paper because you have these harsh edges, right? Because I put too much water here and you have these harsh edges. A little bit of blooming is happening, so it's not like it's 100% cotton paper or anything, but not too bad. It's just a practice paper. Okay, enough jibber jabber. How is the Headbanger's Kitchen saying? I'm trying to see if it dried. No, it didn't dry yet. Okay, so these were my colors, and then I actually wanted to test out some color combination because I know that the step by step. Let's see what comes next. We will see what comes next. So the next part is, oh, actually there's a exercise. So you say you do it wet in wet and wet on dry. So this is the second exercise. By the way, can you guys see? So the only, so this looks like yellow ochre with the alizarin crimson, right? Just looking at the colors, it looks like yellow ochre with alizarin crimson. It says there to go back to page 15 and read again. I ain't going to do that. I'm not going to go back and forward to the pages. But anyway, I'm just going to assume that it all is okay. And I'm going to put this one here. So just to keep it here. So here it says wet and wet. I'm assuming that you wet the page and then you just drop and you see how the colors mix. Now, we are having a review of a workbook, right? Normally, you would have this exercise or this flower. You would want to have it. By the way, you can still feel that on the other side things haven't dried yet because the paper is, it's on the same page as the other one. So you can still feel it a little bit wet. It's okay. We'll survive. Normally, you would have it, your paper, either on a block like this one. By the way, this is just a Sienna watercolor pad. This I use for my stuff that I can throw away, okay? I'm not particularly fond of this watercolor paper, but you know, you would have it flat. Why? Because, let me explain. When you do wet in wet, you need to be able to control the water flow. But if your paper is either buckling like this, or it's at a weird angle, because look, I don't have anything underneath, so it's not really straight, right? So then the color will flow towards this corner because my paper flows like that, right? So that is the thing you need to always imagine with a watercolor workbook. That is actually a workbook, so it's like any other part, right? Anyway, doesn't matter for us. We're still going to do it, right? So yellow ochre with alizarin crimson, fine. Yellow ochre with alizarin crimson. What I'm seeing here, she says, okay, she says, I mean, there's not written, just says to deepen some saturation, but it says like this, probably do some yellow ochre and then drop in the alizarin crimson, and then here she leaves some white. This is gonna be hard for me and leaving white, you know me, I never leave the white. Anyway, this is funny. Okay, review time, man. Okay, I'm still using the number 1 brush. I'm not gonna change it. And what we're gonna do is, let's make sure that you guys can see. I'm going to wet this surface. And this is the problem when you have a number 1 brush. You cannot ever wet the surface very well. You have to, number 1 brush doesn't hold that much water, right? So anyway, just so you know, I'm wetting the surface. Does it have a sheen? yeah, it does kind of. I need to look at it from the side. Oh, there is some parts where I don't have water. Okay, because it's white on white or transparent on white, it doesn't work. Okay, Alizarin Crimson now, and then the other one yellow ochre. So I'm just gonna drop in Alizarin Crimson. This is such a big surface, right? You can see that the watercolor just flows, which is good. I wonder if I should have used the bigger. If I would have used the bigger brush, it would have been something. Notice that the water gets absorbed really fast. That is another clue that this is not such a good paper. Let me add some more Alizarin Crimson. So I'm adding stuff here. Notice how, because the watercolor paper is not, this is the problem. Like you can use cheap watercolor paper when you have watercolor kind of illustrative style, right? But when you want to do wet in wet techniques where everything gets together, mixes together, that's very hard. It's very hard because the water gets absorbed way too fast into the paper. Okay, so I mean, you could add some droplets of water and see what it does, right? And you can move it around, but because now it's also buckling, it's gonna be very hard pressed to correctly go and mix. So you see that I'm mixing it with my brush, not necessarily that it mixes up on its own accord. Now if you do the same thing, let's do the same thing on a watercolor block. Let's do the same thing. What do we get? So I have a pencil. I don't even know what type of it's a no-name pencil. Okay, don't judge me. Don't judge me. Right, and I'm gonna let that one like that. So now I'm gonna wet this paper. This is at least 100% cotton paper. Okay, let's see if this behaves differently. Maybe it was my mistake. Maybe I should have used the number 4 brush. Could be. You know, I make mistakes as well. Oh no, look how it spreads when I'm adding stuff. Like it really spreads around. Okay, and it's like going there. And now I'm gonna add the other color down. So now it spreads the other way, right? So what you want is to let them mix into each other. You can urge them with a brush, right? And they can mix into each other. I added way too much water there, right? But at least this is a more seamless one than here, right? Here, yeah, when you have the correct paper, these wet in wet techniques become much nicer. But yeah, I'm afraid that maybe I've done it wrong. Okay, let me try with the number 4 brush, just for my own peace of mind. Number 4 brush will hold much more water and much more pigment. Okay, so I want to give the benefit of the doubt for everybody, right? So Alizarin Crimson, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'm used to so much control in my life that I don't know. Pre-wetting the paper maybe needs to be. The colors do run into each other, so that's okay. And in theory, you can have a smooth blend. I'm trying things out, right? Don't judge me. Okay. Assuming that we're letting them dry, what they say here. Okay, this is one. In here, I guess you make one layer of the yellow ochre and then you add the red on top. Okay, let's do that. One layer of yellow ochre. I think I know why I never liked the yellow ochre also, because it's quite opaque, but anyway. I will blast it with my heat tool because I don't want us to wait here forever. Okay. I think she added some sort of red here. She went all around it because that color looks like that. Okay. So she added this. She made it more like a reddish color. And now theoretically this is supposed to be dry on wet, so we need to let it dry. What I will do is I'll set it with my heat tool. Let me just put it to charge. Where is that? Okay, now I see it. How's everybody doing? Are you guys enjoying this? It's funny. Okay. Now, excuse the sound. It's going to be very interesting. By the way, this comes with practice. I never practice wet in wet techniques because I do a very controlled illustrative style and I never do wet in wet. It's probably that's what I'm doing wrong, but anyway, we'll see. To be honest, if you talk about wet in wet and so on, the blend on this one, this is 100% cotton. The transition looks much better, right? I couldn't get this transition here. This one also, but this is again, even if it's 100% cotton paper, still shitty paper because you see the blooms still happen. So anyway. Dun, dun, dun. I guess that's for blotting. That's the next exercise. Okay, let's try it again. Let's try to see again. What do we have? Do you guys see this? So let's try to see if we can make sure that we have yellow. We wet all this part. We have yellow and then we drop in the color. Let's see. I'm going to use a number 4 because you know what? So in order to leave these ones white, I will not put water around it. I will not put water. Oh, hello, kitty cat. My kitty cat is arriving. We're gonna have company soon. So Hi. If you notice where Happy is, he's here. He is arriving. He's going to plop down soon enough. Okay, I'm just having to leave some white, and I'm not putting white everywhere. I'm leaving the edges there. Okay. Okay. So now yellow ochre. I took a way thicker consistency than what I needed. Okay. You go in when it's still wet. You can go in with your brush, and then you clean your brush, and then you pick up the color, right? So it doesn't have to be like that. Okay. And you might wonder, what are you doing, Claudia? It's okay. We're gonna start. I'm gonna start putting the Alizarin Crimson soon. I'm gonna drop it in. We'll see how that goes. Because theoretically it should mix in. I don't know. Like I said, the paper is not flat. So anything that we do is going to go into directions where we didn't want them to go. You know? Because it creates some dimples here. This is the problem with workbooks. It creates these dimples, okay? And didn't necessarily mix the way I was hoping, but it doesn't matter. What's important is that we learn some techniques, which I'm gonna try and turn on my normal watercolor paper, which is my arches, right? Here is just a try out. Okay, so I'm adding more color. It's still wet, right? I don't get that smooth transition, to be honest. I don't know about you. Okay. So it says deepen the saturation by dropping in. Okay, I'm dropping in. The problem is when you're dropping in on this paper, because it's already buckling, it's not gonna go where it's supposed to go. So theoretically it's supposed to go down, right? It's supposed to spread around down. But does it spread around? No. No, because the paper buckled. Okay. And now my fear, because I said that my fear is that I cannot add more layers to this. It's probably very well funded, because to be honest, I don't think it accepts multiple layers of paint. This thing has become a blob. This thing has become a blob of color, man. Okay. Not what I was expecting at all. Okay. Like you would expect this like smooth transition, but now it's like the paper starts to peel. And it has such hard edges, although she has hard edges also here, so I don't know. I'm almost thinking, because she had yellow here, I'm almost thinking maybe I should have done an entire layer of yellow and then added all that. Could have been. Anyway, my bad. Okay, now I'm gonna dry it because this looks terrible. Okay, definitely not what I was expecting, although this is bigger than this, right? Not what I was expecting. The paper did buckle. Okay, this is just tryouts, man, tryouts. You know, what is nice is because she made these designs, you can always just copy them and put them onto your normal watercolor paper that you normally use, like your Arches or Fabriano and whatever. Make your own design with this and then do the techniques there on the paper that you're used to, right? I'm not used to on this paper. The color doesn't behave the way I want it. Anyway, this one looks like it's going to be me trying to add Alizarin Crimson on top of the already dried ones. So this is what this says. This is actually, it's called dry in wet. So you're putting in wet paint on a dry surface. So that's it. And then we can have some manner of tiny things. So dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. Okay. I always do also wet and dry, so I always let my first layer dry and then I put, and it's kind of also glazing, and then I do a second layer, right? So let's try it. This time, let's try it. I'm adding water. My water is so red because of the Alizarin Crimson. I should not have used both buckets of water. I should have had some clean water, but hey, I am not a smart person always, so let's try this. I'm really gonna add water to this yellow ochre to make it more yellowish. What I'm seeing here, let's try to do an entire wash of this. Let it dry, and then we come back with the wet thing. Okay. We're gonna come with the red on top, right? After this one dries. So it's okay. I guess I'm not winning on the consistency part, but whatever, man. This is fine. Again, paper is buckling, which is normal. I mean, this is like 200 grams watercolor paper, kind of similar in look and feel. And what that means is that I already painted on the other side. Now if I'm gonna paint on this side, that's gonna be having some trouble. Okay, I'm gonna just dry it out. I would say that I think on this paper the wet into dry technique would work much better than the wet into wet. This is just my personal feeling on this paper. So what do we do? It says here, take some Alizarin Crimson. I'm gonna make it a bit more, and then put it here on this one, right? So this looks like, right? Okay, she has really harsh edges. I'm not the person to do harsh edges. Like whenever I see harsh edges, I'm having heart attacks. I'm having heart attacks, man. Don't give me hard edges. Please don't give me hard edges. I cannot stand it. It's in my view, it's not really clean. I can't. I am too much of a OCD person to go with hard edges. I'm assuming that this is going to be, I'm just trying to copy all of that. Because hard edges are really hard on my eyes, right? So that's why. I'm just assuming that it's okay to not have such harsh edges. I'm assuming that this petal is done because this is underneath the other petal. So let's see. We'll let them dry again, and then we add the tiny little bit of stuff. No. I'm gonna use a tiny brush, some Alizarin Crimson, and then these are just some tryouts. So you can even go ahead and make more lines like this, right? And this is the beauty of glazing and the beauty of adding stuff. Once something is dry, you can very easily come in and add details. So I guess this is what is needed from the exercise. Okay. Yeah, she talks here about glazing with translucent layers, create shadows with a wet on dry glaze, follow flower details with concentrated wet on dry marks. We did that. We did flower details. We did all of that stuff. So again, this paper, this workbook, it explains things very well. Do not expect the same result because it's not, the water's not going to flow because it's going to buckle. I do believe that wet and dry is going to work much better on this paper than wet and wet. Wet and wet, it will get messy. It's not a very good paper for wet and wet. Okay, but nothing against what is being taught, nothing against the way it's being taught. It's actually very good. So what you normally would is you would copy this flower on your own watercolor paper and you will try the techniques. Okay, so this is what we do. Okay. Let's find something that we can paint nicely, right? I mean, this one I'm assuming is gonna be blotting. Yeah, this is blotting. So you do color and then you go with the paper towel, and this is you're defining the boundaries, right? So you here on these flowers you need to make, so it has defined boundaries, so each petal has their own color. It has loose boundaries, so you're gonna mix in, or you have undefined boundaries where you go way over the lines. And I'm like, do I look like I'm ever going over the lines? Like, does it look like it's me? Because that's definitely not me. I am not over the lines ever. Okay. But we're not gonna do that. Let's move on. Oh, this is nice. These are the color recipes, man. This is where you have to try to match these colors. So she's color and mixing. Okay, let's try a few. Let's see which one is the first one. The first one is the first real one is the long-lived Eucalyptus, and we need to do the smoke, the buff, the sage, slate, and leaf green. Okay. Smoke, buff, sage, slate, leaf green. These combinations we need to have broken down. So there are 5 things. Okay. Let's look here. What does she say? I'm going to do this like this. She says like this: buff. Buff is 90% white, 10% yellow ochre. Okay, 10% yellow ochre. Let's see. Man, I need some nourishment. Okay. We are trying buff, and I'm using this one just to test things out. By the way, I think I need a new clean look at this water. I need a new one. I have water right next to me, so don't worry. I made the mistake of using the secondary bucket to clean my brush, and that was a mistake that I'm not gonna do again. I'm going to change this water as well. These are my buckets. I have them for years. I don't even know where I got them from. I think the red one I got somewhere when I was in Berlin at an art shop, and the other one I think from Simons & Stamp or something like that. Anyway, where are we? Buff, 90% white, 10% yellow ochre. Okay. Here's my mixing palette. This is my white. So I'm gonna add white. I'm just gonna put a little bit here. By the way, probably need white for other stuff as well. Okay. So we're gonna do this white. This is 90% white. Okay, fine. And then yellow ochre. And when it says 10% yellow ochre, I'm just gonna assume that is just a dab of yellow ochre, as in tiny smidget. Okay. Yeah. I had a, oh no, look, I don't know what color this is. This is definitely not what I wanted. Oh no. Why didn't I clean my palette in the first place? I don't know what color that was, but I think I had the gray from a previous project on the palette, and then the gray got in, and then that just doesn't work. That just doesn't work, man. Okay, I'm trying to scoop it up with my brush. Okay, I'm gonna use this new beautiful thing to clean it up. Okay. Again, let's try again. This is how we learn, man. This is how we learn. So I'm having the white here. Okay, the white is here, and it says the buff. You have to add a little bit of yellow ochre. Okay, I'm adding the tiniest bit of yellow ochre. Okay, yeah, I think that is correct color, indeed. That looks like that. Okay, so not that difficult. Not that difficult. Okay, then what was the other one? So it was sage, wasn't it? Sage and leaf green were the greens, and then slate. Okay. Okay, so sage. Sage says 50% white. So we do some white. Let's do it here. 50% white, 20% yellow ochre. So let's do 20% yellow ochre. That means a little bit more than a smidget of yellow ochre. Okay. And then it says 30% of Oxide Chromium. That means Oxide Chromium for us was the yellow, the olive green. And I just want to take a bit more olive green. Okay, let's mix this together. Ooh, wow. Okay, this is really a really nice color. I always wanted this color. I didn't know that you can get this color like this. Look at this. Look at this. This is like pale sage, actually. I think if you add a little bit more, it becomes more like the sage. Yes. I added a little bit more green. Okay. Actually, even more. If I add a little bit more green, yes, this becomes the sage. So 3 times green, 1 times yellow ochre. This is sage. Okay, so we have our color. Leafing green. 20% oxide chromium, 50% burnt sienna, 30% Payne's gray. Okay, so now this one will be oxide chromium, which is our, surprisingly, our green. Okay. And it says 20%, then 50% burnt sienna, 30% Payne's gray. Burnt sienna, okay. Are you kidding me? Really, burnt sienna? And it is even more, so I need to really load my brush with burnt sienna. Okay. Burnt sienna. Ugh, what is this, man? Okay, burnt sienna with green. Then mix it like ugh. Okay, it's a really weird brown. And then she says 30% Payne's gray. So let's add Payne's gray and see what happens. Payne's gray. Okay, I did not get the leafy green either because I put too less green. So now it's a really dark brown. I did not mix this color. It should be. Okay, let me put a little more green. Let's see if I put more green. If I put even more green, I think it should bring it back, right? If you put more green, it says leafy green. Okay, now we did a really dark. Okay, and then I guess a little bit more Payne's gray. Yeah, I think I had way too much burnt sienna. I think it. I'm not sure why. So let's see what color did we get. Is this a leafy green? Leaf green. That one that they have really look more towards gray. Really a dark green. So I'm adding gray till I can kind of. You see why I don't mix colors? It's becoming tedious if I mix colors, because look at this one. Maybe now. Is this a leafy green? Me. Okay, we're gonna stop it now because I'm just going to assume it is. Although it doesn't really look like it. Doesn't look like it, but we're just gonna live with it. Okay, what was it? The other one, slate. It says 30% white, so I need some white. Let's do some white. 30% white, 30% Oxide of Chromium, and 40% Payne's Gray. Okay. 30% white, 30% white. This is the white. Okay, cool. Oxide of Chromium, so 30% of green. I'm just gonna have it here, but then mix it up. By the way, this looks like the sage. Okay, 30%, 30%. And then add Payne's Gray until this whole thing becomes a mess. Okay. Meh. Could be slate. Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it. This one wasn't that bad. Okay. You know what the color looks like? It looks like the color that I had. Again, I'm noticing here that it has a blue tint, and this is where I think she didn't put Payne's Gray. She put Payne's Gray blue, but she made it like Payne's Gray, because you have to have a blue tint to it. That's what slate is. Slate has a blue tint to stuff. Look. Now this has a blue tint. Okay, from now on, whenever it says Payne's Gray, I'm gonna do Payne's Gray blue, because yeah. Okay. So it was leaf green, sage, yellow ochre. I wonder if there was any other color that I didn't do. Smog. Let's see. Smog is 40% white. So we're gonna add white. Yellow ochre, 30%, Alizarin Crimson, and Payne's Gray. Man. Okay. This is white. Yellow ochre. I'm not gonna add a lot. I'm gonna add a smidget of yellow ochre. I'm gonna mix it up. Okay. Then it says Alizarin Crimson. So we have to be very careful with Alizarin Crimson. This is very okay. Yeah. And then it says afterwards Payne's Gray. I'm gonna do Payne's Gray blue. Like I said, I'm not doing. Okay. Smoke. It looks like Davis Gray, this one. Yeah, it could be more with more Alizarin Crimson, to be honest. So her smoke is a little bit more towards the red, so I'm just adding. Now it became more dusty pink. Okay, sorry. Okay, this one became more dusty pink, so now it's too much into that direction, so we need to bring it back. What did we have? We had white, right? And we have Payne's Gray. Blue. Okay. Yeah. So it's either towards the blue or towards the red. I hate combining colors. I hate combining colors. This is just unbelievable. Okay. This looks better. This looks like that. Like the smoke that she has. And like I said before, it looks like the Davis Gray. Okay. So we have all these colors mixed in here. By the way, I think I need a lot more. Let's see if I need a lot more of the yellow. Okay, these are the mixins. We made our colors. And now it says using a waterproof pen, ink the design. Oh god, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm too tired to do that. Okay. This is like ink the design. We can ink it at the end, okay? Decide how you like to treat your boundaries. The majority of this piece was painted using defined boundary approach. So, you know, okay, each petal has its own thing. Focus on one leaf at a time. Okay. So, I see some sages here. I see some slates. I honestly do not see where the buff is. Where's the buff? I have no idea why did we make the buff. I have no idea. Okay, I'm using my number 4. Okay, and then we're just going to we're just gonna do stuff. I'm using, this was the smoke, okay, and I'm really using it in the back. I'm really defining the boundaries. Maybe I should have used a number 1. Yeah, maybe I use a number 1 brush, because to be honest, this is too nerve-wracking. So define boundary, this is 1. Okay, let's do some more with this color. I really like the design, and let me put it why I like the design. I like the design because the leaves overlap. Okay, and because leaves overlap, it creates really this 3D effect. Okay, trust me, I know what I'm saying here. Okay, this color, we should do here. I might not do it the exact same way as she does it there, but what she's saying basically, you go in, you do your first layer, so you block in the colors, then you go in with your second layer, second colors, and you deepen the color, and you can do that. There's not a problem. Okay, this is a really nice design. You see, I would have made these leaves much more rounder, or I don't know, much more pointier maybe. Don't know why I would do them like that, but yeah. Let's see. This is one of the nicer colors, and I'm gonna put it on top here. So you see, for this kind of work, this paper is fine. It's perfectly fine. I mean, like I said, you can use 200 grams watercolor paper or whatever. When you do this kind of dry and wet techniques, you can use that. I mean, there's not a big problem. In the problem it becomes when I did the boo-boo here. The problem becomes when you are trying to do wet and wet techniques. This paper is not going to be that. It's going to be a mess for wet and wet techniques. Okay. But it is what it is. Okay, I'm gonna try some sage. I'm gonna try some sage. Wow, this is really, the sage is really nice color, but it's really bright. I was not expecting it to be so bright. You see, because all the other ones are so grayish colors, and then the sage comes and goes like, hey, I'm like a neon color. Okay. It's so funny. Okay. Let's do this. This is where you see where I should have taped this page. So I keep it. It's a really nice design. I would have added some berries and so on, but I can understand why you would want to learn only how do you do variation with these colors only, right? So how do you go from leaf to leaf and so on? I'm not very good at, normally I would sit on my head on top of it, and then I would see it, you know, and then I wouldn't go over the lines, but I'm going over the lines a little bit now. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but I cannot have you watch my head while I'm painting, right? That is the only problem with the live streams. You see how many, this is also a leaf underneath, so we can do it more darker maybe. Look, dunk dunk. It's really nice. In theory, you should let the leaves that are next to each other dry out, because otherwise the color is gonna go into it. Okay. Dun dun dun. This is again some smoke. I think the slate color I like the most, the slate green. From all the ones that we done, the slate I like the most. And the sage. The sage is second. But if I didn't have to do my own colors, I would have used my own ready-made colors, okay? Because I have my own ready-made colors. You can see how this can go on, and this can look really nice and really pretty. Okay, I'm just gonna assume that this one dried, and we can do, for example, a second layer here. Let's see if we do a second layer on this one also. Once it's dry, it's easy to do a second layer, and you can decide which leaves deserve a second layer also, right? It doesn't have to be everything. Let's see what a second layer of the neon color looks like. Oh, it looks pretty nice, right? They all look pretty nice. The nice part about making a design like this and making the leaves kind of in the same family but not really, right? By the way, I'm really thinking this smoke is like Davis gray, and I think I'm not gonna mix another batch. I'm just gonna go and make my own Davis gray. Okay, as in I have Davis gray on my palette, so it just looks like it, and I'm not gonna mix again 7 colors to get to that. Okay, now the darkest one. And you know, the funny part is I didn't do with the black ink yet, and what this allows me to do is once it's dry, I go with a black pen and then it doesn't look so bad when it's over the lines, right? So this is one of the tips that I would give you, because it's definitely something to look for. Okay. You know what? I would get some neutral tint here. Some of these leaves need I mean, we deserve some neutral tint here. Look how pretty it is. The difference is when you're doing it like this, sometimes defining the boundaries is really hard because it's so light. Things are very light. Okay, and this will be sage. Look how nice sage is. You know how you could do the sage without having to do with the browns and the stuff? You can do the May green, for example, like this neony green. So if you would have this green, May green, and then you add gray, it makes it into a sage, because that's the only way, right? So just saying that it doesn't need to be so complicated, as that you have to have like 10 million colors. Okay. I had that one. I have this one here. Okay. This is how we do it. Okay. That's better. And this one looks much more towards the perlin green / undersea green combination. So if you have these ones, you can definitely do your own combinations. I'm very worried when I'm mixing too many colors at once. They become muddy. I find the process of painting nice, but I don't have the process of mixing colors yet in my head. Nice. Okay. Let's have again neutral tint here. Just for the sake of it all. Doesn't neutral tint with lots of water look better than the smoke? Because neutral tint already has this purplish hue, and the smoke was having this hue as well. Then I'm just rambling here. Is there any rhyme and reason how you would do these leaves? Probably not. I would try to say that the darker colors you would put on top, because the leaves that are on top are closer to you, you know? So that's why. I'm using the belly of the brush to do this. And this is a darker part. Okay, still looks nice. I would say that I need to bring some of this down. Not because... So I'm glazing on top of one of the other colors because I use neutral tint up and I didn't use neutral tint at all down. Makes it look a little bit weird. So that's why. Okay. And of course you go on and on and on. You would add many more colors and many more layers, and then you make your nice eucalyptus. Okay. I wonder if I mix this color with the yellow, does it look weird? Maybe. The thingy with neutral tint is majority of the time, once it's dry, it's very hard to take it over. AKA, it doesn't work. As in, it's a permanent color. Like a lot of watercolors you can lift, but this one you can't. Okay. And then I'm doing this very light color for the last leaf here. And so on. Notice that her colors are much darker, much more, but it is probably because she added many more layers than me, right? I only have maybe 1 or 2 layers. Okay, don't think that I have many layers. So the trick with watercolor is to always have at least 3 to 4 layers for your colors to get the intensity that you have. The best watercolor papers will let you even add 5, 6, 7 layers. It doesn't really matter. Like, it will not buckle, it will not budge. That's why I like my watercolor paper. You see, now I'm doing this. So now I'm adding extra layers and the colors become much more vibrant, much more darker. Okay. Remember, when you're mixing colors, your mixing will always dry much lighter because it's a mix of colors. So you should be careful. You know, the challenge for me is gonna be to come up with these colors on my own palette, or this kind of because I like this kind of gray greens. So I'm just wondering, from the greens that I have, what type of gray should I mix in to have the correct color? You know what I mean? As in, I don't want to do burnt sienna plus X plus Y. I just want to do a nice green I have and add something like a gray or one extra color to make it this. Now it becomes much better. Yep. Let's see. And there you have it. This was my review of this book. I'm gonna flip at the end through the entire book because I think she has some really nice designs and it's worth for you guys to see it. Okay, I'm not very careful with this. The sage is really pale. I'm not sure. Okay. This is really Davis gray, yeah. The smoke. Okay, I think I'm almost done with my duty towards this piece. I will redo it in kind of my own style on my own piece of paper, because I'm really interested to know if I can get it with the colors that I have, if I can get something similar. But that is a little bit more my style, so I'm gonna redo this one in my style. Okay, that was it for now. It still looks nice, right? It still looks okay. I'm going to move my palette away so that we can go on and kind of look at it differently. Okay, so that was the first one. It's called long leaf eucalyptus. The second one is a dahlia. So we have dahlias, foxglove. We have a different round leaf eucalyptus. That's gonna be more difficult. We have some buttercup wreath. Oh, that's nice. Wildflowers, daisies, a lady with a rose. Oh, this is gonna be fun to do. Fruit blossoms. Okay. Peony and lilac. Oh, lilac is really cool. Stylized. Hellebore. Peony with wildflowers. This is Lady Sweet Pea. That's nice. She has a vase. Oh, that's gonna be nice. This is a blueberry branch. Ooh, inspiration. And this is more of a garden bouquet, so this is a little bit more complicated, right? There's a girl with flowers. Oh, look here, I think you're using all of the colors. Okay, some big girl with some big lady monstera. Okay, this is nice. So you have some nice compositions also, right? Okay, so this was my review. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for staying with me and for watching. I had fun using this. By the way, I should have left this to dry because now it kind of went on the other page, but it's okay, right? We have learned something. See you guys next time. It's probably Sunday, and yeah, if you like this, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more live streams and more trials